First of all, reporting season well and truly underway. We had some numbers yesterday from Kogan, JB Hi-Fi. They're really moving in heavy greenery at the moment, aren't they?
Pete, good morning. They really are, mate. This is a fascinating story of what I think is really that, remember we used to talk about the two-speed economy a few years ago? It really feels to me like we're in that sort of situation right now. We'll talk about other companies, of course, in a minute, but Kogan, JB Hi-Fi, on the back of businesses like Officeworks and Bunnings, there are plenty of companies that are doing really, really well at the moment, delivering, really strong sales and profit growth because people who still have their jobs, who aren't getting income support, who aren't traveling, who aren't going overseas, frankly, they're buying TVs, they're buying office desks, they're buying chairs, they're buying laptops. This is very much the story of consumer spending right now. It's good news in the sense that the money's still circulating, but there is some sense that we have something of a two-speed economy, I think.
Does that last, Scott? I mean, or has the price gone too high when you're talking about shares in Kogan, JB? Can people keep spending? I mean, surely there's going to be a point where the economy catches up with people.
Yeah, look, so, I mean, they're the same business, but they're very, very different. I think when you think about JB Hi-Fi, you're right. And look, honestly, this time next year, if they're not delivering negative same-store sales growth or same-store sales decline, that'd be a huge surprise. Now, investors should expect that, right? We saw JB Hi-Fi sales up phenomenally. Same-store sales up 12.2%. This is for a dominant, mature retailer. If you're comparing against these numbers next year, they have to be lower. And if they're not, that'll be an astonishing surprise. That doesn't necessarily mean you walk away from the shares or the businesses. They're still going to be great businesses growing over the long term. It does mean as investors, you better be ready for that. And there may well be some volatility. I think, look, anyone who gets to this time next year and is surprised by declines, they shouldn't be holding shares at all. They shouldn't be investing. If you're genuinely surprised by that, as you've already said, Peter, that would be remarkable. Over time, I think they can grow. That being said, I'd rather be Kogan than JB. Now, I own shares in Kogan for full disclosure, but JB Hi-Fi is a mature retailer like Harvey Norman. They own the market. And so wherever sales growth goes globally, or when I say globally, for the whole industry, there goes JB Hi-Fi. Kogan's in a different scenario, and you're much better owning a growing disruptor when it comes to long-term growth. So if I had to make a bet on either of those two share prices, I'd happily bet on Kogan over the long term. No view in the short term, but over the long term, if Kogan keeps taking share, it can grow for a whole lot longer than the likes of JB and Harvey can.
All right, yeah, that's just a couple of many companies that are involved in reporting season at the moment. It'd be interesting to watch Qantas shares. They'll be reporting this week as well to see how Qantas is looking at the moment, given the current climate. Obviously, it's not very good. I just want to get your thoughts on this super debate at the moment, Scott. It seems like there's movements afoot to perhaps walk that back, these proposed changes to increase super. What's your view of that?
Yeah, but I mean, there's two great ways to answer the question. One is an economic answer, one is a personal answer. We need to increase the super guarantee above what it's currently at to around 12%. That seems pretty much agreed by most people over time. That's necessary. The question really for me is now the right time? And I don't really think we can make the case for right now, unfortunately. I'd like people to get to 12% as soon as physically possible because that will secure retirements. But right now, we know businesses are in trouble. We know the economy is in trouble. We know wage inflation is tiny. CPI is tiny. Putting more money out of the economy. Effectively, super is putting money away for later, which is great. It's exactly what we should be doing. Except what it does mean is there's a net detraction from economic growth by a small amount, while ever that number is increasing. I don't know that now is the right time to do that. As I said, I definitely we should do it. It needs to be done over time. But you want to be doing these things when the economy is going really, really well. Take some of that extra surplus off the table and put it away for later. The old squirrel's collecting nuts. If the squirrel's already starving, you're not putting nuts away for winter, right? You're eating them now. You worry about the nuts for winter a bit later on once you've got a full belly.